to our school. Although it's online, it's a privilege to have you with us. It's a great honor because we are all part of DB, and but we never really got to explain our whatever little bit of small achievements. But especially in this meeting, we really want to appreciate the time that you've given, because all of our students are very eager to hear from you, and especially Abdul Rahman has already shared the details. Last 2 weeks back, we had Girish who had come down on the thing, and all the students were very much inspired. And we really hope that you are already an inspiration, but we want our students to go through the process and get inspired by listening to you and your advices and your experiences, basically. It's always a privilege to have people such as yourself who really achieved a lot, who really got a lot to share. So please accept our warm welcome. And we really hope that, once this lockdown and all is over, we will have the opportunity to invite you to our school. Our main school is in Purnamali, where we are running a KG to 12th standard. We've had the school in Purnamali actually started only in the year 2013, which is about 7 years old. But the main school, the way the entire school started, was in 2005 in Egmore only, again close to our school, just behind the old Das Prakash Hotel. So we started from the first grade there. It was KG to first, and then every year we made progress 1 year at a time, and we've reached the 12th, and we've got 4 batches who have passed through that 12th. So it's been a beautiful 15-year journey for us, and it's always, it's very satisfying for all those people who are part of the school and part of, educating the next generation. So it's a great, satisfying journey. I'm really happy that you've been able to join us today. I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nurul Amin sir. Boys, let me introduce you. Mr. Ashwin Rajagopal is president of the Don Bosco Egmore Past Pupils Association, one of India's most vibrant school alumni networks. He is actively involved in the association's community outreach programs. Ashwin is a content architect, writer, speaker, and a cultural intelligence coach. He is a specialist at communicating across cultures and borders. Over to you, Ashwin. You'll have to unmute your mic, Ashwin. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon. So first of all, I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to be here with you. And I'm also looking forward to coming and interacting with you all in school once the lockdown lifts. Looking forward to that moment. And Abdul just gave a brief introduction. I'd just like to take maybe a couple of minutes and talk about the Don Bosco Alumni and the Past Pupils Association, what we do. In fact, when I spoke with Abdul last evening, we were figuring out what should be the right. And I said it's important that all of you get an idea in terms of what is a school alumni association, what is the role that a school alumni association has, and being a school where a lot of you will be passing out over the next few years. What is it that you all as students can, do in terms of giving back? So I'd like to just say that as Abdul mentioned, I'm a very proud past pupil and alumnus of Don Bosco Egmore. All of us, I think all of us who've spoken so far share that common heritage. So I think the school has helped build a great value system because what we believe is that it's not just important if you learn what's in your books, right? So that's something today you can even go to a tuition center or you can go to Byju's or something like that to learn what is there in your books. But what you get from school, what you get from interactions with teachers is the values, it's lessons for life, and it prepares you, for the big challenges that are there. So that's the first thing I think that brings me here, because I feel my teachers and my school were successful in molding me the right way. And the second thing is talking about an alumni association. In simple terms, what we mean by an alumni association is an association of all people who have passed out of a particular school or a college. So what is a common, common thread, or, the common thing that binds this group together? It's like saying, okay, we have this one thing that binds us together. It's like today we are all here together, and that is being from one institution. And how, when you pass out of that institution, how can you use this in a positive way? One, to help your own students. Two, how can you help your community? And by community, we mean it could be anybody. It could be people from your group, from your family. It could be a larger community, which is a whole area or a whole city. And the other important thing is, how can it help you all in, once you start, some of you might become businessmen, somebody might become a lawyer, somebody might become a doctor. So how does this network help you, conduct business better? Because there's nothing better than being, with your own people who you trust. And the other important thing is, how can you inspire students? Now, you will pass out of the school, like today, how I'm talking to you, your juniors will be in a similar situation, in a similar kind of an interaction. And at that time, one of you who's logged in here might be the person sitting here and talking to them instead of me. So how will you be able to inspire your juniors in your school to do greater and bigger things? So this is broadly what an alumni association is supposed to do. And building and helping the community is a big part of this. And another good thing is, especially in tough times like this, we're talking about Corona and COVID, it's always good to surround ourselves with happy memories and positive thoughts. So nothing better than having people come back, meet their old teachers, meet students from their school, and look back at times, go down memory lane and look at all those positive memories. So that's another great thing about an alumni association. So I'm just setting the context for today's discussion. And as you can see, very proud, so this is our school logo. So we even have our t-shirts. And that's how proud a lot of us are about being from this great institution. And I believe you have to be proud of any school, whichever school you pass out of. It's not like, oh, you went to Don Bosco, you're proud. No, it is whichever school you pass out of, you have to be proud. It's like you have to be proud of everything. You have to be proud of your school, your state, your country. We have to be proud of everything that we belong to. So that's it. I'm going to now leave the floor open for any questions that come through, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Yes, Ashwin, for the first question, what is the role of a school alumni network, Ashwin?
Abdul, I think you're on mute.
Oh, sorry.
Sir?
Ashwin?
Yeah. Ashwin, what is the role of a school alumni network?
So I think I might have answered that a little bit but I'll just to repeat, when I say the role of a school alumni network, one is to create nostalgia and positive thoughts amongst the alumni. Two, I would say, is networking. How can you network with your students and your past students, especially as your school keeps getting, as the years pass, you'll have more and more students in your school being achievers in their respective businesses and in whatever, fields they take. So that's the second. Third is, how can you reach the community at large? How can you use all this positive energy and impact the community and do what we call social outreach or community outreach?
And could you tell us about the Don Bosco Egmore Alumni Association, please?
Yeah, so the Don Bosco Egmore, I'll speak about Egmore. That's the school that I went to. So when you look at Don Bosco, the founder of Don Bosco, Hussein Don Bosco, so he is a very, I would say a very visionary kind of a saint and an educator. So when he set up the schools in the 19th century, his whole thing, he already in the 19th century talked about having an alumni association, of having, the whole concept of past pupils coming back to the school. So, the belief we have, and I'm sure, both my schoolmates will agree with me, is it's like this famous lines of a popular song called Hotel California. You can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave. So we never leave the school. The part of our school is always there with us. And this association was started in the 1980s. And we had people, who this was when the school was about, I'd say about 25 years old. There was a need for starting an alumni association. And since then, this has been one of the most active, I would say, alumni associations, not just because I am part of it, but because you can see, if you Google DBPPA or you Google Don Bosco Past Pupils Association, EGMOR, you can see all the events and all the things we have done. So we have been doing a lot of activities for the last 35 years. And like I said, this includes different areas. In 2014, we organized, I would say, one of the largest school alumni get-togethers or events in India. We had 1,000 students who came not just from Chennai, but all over the world for a 2-day event in July 2014. That event was called Converge. And we got a lot of positive press and media coverage for that. And one of the things we did during that event was to recognize all our retired teachers. We honored them, and they were the superstars, and also all the principals, the fathers and the educators. They were the real superstars who were recognized in 2014.
Okay, and what are the activities of the association, Ashwin?
So if I break this down, the first thing we look at is what we call fellowship, or building nostalgia. So we have a lot of events every year. For example, we have a unique sport in our school, which is called croquet. It's, I would say, a hybrid version. It's somewhere where cricket and baseball meet somewhere halfway. So we have an event every year where we get guys to come and play batch-wise. So we call it the World Cup because no other school plays this sport, or no other institution plays this sport anywhere else in the world. So it's the Croquet World Cup. And every year we get about 10 to 12 teams participating batch-wise. Then we have an annual get-together, which is now sometimes we do once a year, once in 2 years, where we recognize our mentors. Our mentors in this case are school teachers. So we recognize these teachers, and it's a point where the students and teachers get to go down memory lane, interact, and reminisce about, I think, what we go through or what we went through in school. So that is another thing we do. So that's all part of the what we call the fellowship or building the camaraderie. The second thing that we do, and this is something I'm very proud of, is community outreach. So we have, for example, every year we have a Christmas and Diwali lunch and dinner where we meet. We go to a center like of underprivileged children. So it's not just about giving them a meal. It's also interacting with them, like having an event with them. So that is something we do twice a year. And of late, we have also started organizing a movie every year. This is for, again, a group of students. So every year we take them for a movie, about 70 to 100 kids. But the thing that I'm most happy to share is last academic year, or shall I say the 2019-20 academic year, we started something called a spoken English program where we tied up with an international service provider who gives these certificates. And we launched this in 3 schools for students, deserving students, because our thing was, today, if I'm sitting here and I'm able to communicate so effectively, it's because of the fact that I had good teachers in my school, and we all benefited from those teachers who taught us English. So this confidence and this communication is what helps me today in my profession. So we wanted to create the same environment for other students. So this year we went to three schools. One of them was Don Bosco in North Chennai, in Vyasarpadi. And we also went to Anjuman, which is in T Nagar. Some of you all might be familiar with Anjuman School, which is in T Nagar. So there we focused on the matriculation students. The CBSE students, obviously their communication abilities are better. But the matriculation, and I have to say that the kids in Anjuman, they're all 9th standard children. Those boys really made us proud. We had about, I think, about 50 hours of spoken English for them. And they really made us proud.
And how can the association help in giving back to society and reaching out, Ashwin?
See, I think this is the most important message that I'd like to share with all of you today. Sometimes, we think that, okay, I've done my schooling, I'm done, now I move on, okay? And we all go through that because once we go to college, we have new friends, we have a new environment, and we think we are too cool for school, right? It's like, oh yeah, I'm now a college student, so I don't need my old, people whom I've left behind in school, my teachers. But what you'll find, if you don't find it immediately, and I'm sure a lot of my schoolmates agree with me, is as time goes by, you will start missing your school, you'll start missing your teachers, you'll start missing that connect. And that's a point where you need to see, oh, you know what, I need to renew this link with my school. I need to give back to the school, right? It's like saying, what can I do now? So all these 14 years when you're in school, right, you take something, you take all the values your teachers share, all that, all the great learnings and their abilities, teaching abilities. But once you become someone, it's time for us to give back. And every religion talks about this, including Islam. It talks about how can I give back to society. And I believe an association is a great way to do that because you're with like-minded people. You have people who can collaborate with you and you can give back to people who need this. And where an alumni association comes in is one, having that common sense of purpose and having an organization, right? So today, for example, if you say, I want to organize something, like I want to do a medical camp, for example, I'm just giving you an example. You have a school that's already there, like the school infrastructure is already there. So as past pupils, you can go to your principal or management saying, as past pupils, we'd like to organize this. Or you might say, we want to organize something like maybe I want to do a special lunch for people who deserve it. So then all of you will get together and give back. And I think, that's one thing that you can do to giving back is also to the students. If you have an idea, you can go back to the management because remember, once you pass out of school, you are a bridge between society and your school, right? So you are, each one of you today is an ambassador for this school. Never forget that because, your school is where you come from. Today, if I'm speaking to you, I also believe I'm an ambassador for my school because if I do something that's wrong, people will say, this guy went to Don Bosco and he's doing this. They'll say, you went to Sana and you're doing this, which means you have a role as a role model to come back and inspire students. So tomorrow, if you say become a lawyer, if you become a doctor, or you become a media personality, come back, talk to your students, go back to the same class that you studied in, and go and inspire these students. It's just simple things that you're doing. It might be saying, I worked in the government and I have been an honest government officer. That's all is your message. But that's a very powerful message to take back to the students. Please remember that even if you can inspire, because, we talk about change, we talk about, the prime minister of a country or a president of a country inspiring millions of people. But real change begins if you can just change, inspire even 10 people or 20 people in your school or your neighborhood. And I think that's a big role for alumni.
Okay. And how can an association assist the school management, Ashwin?
Yeah. So I think one is it can be a bridge between what is happening outside. For example, if you have students who have gone and excelled in, let's say, IT, they can come back to the school and say, we need to be doing this kind of thing because, this is what today the industry needs. For example, two, I think the alumni can come back and work with the school to reach out to society, do things for society. And like I said, third, try and do things that inspire students. So as alumni, you come back, you organize events. Like it could be, for example, a career guidance fair is something the alumni can put together and say, you know what, let's do a career guidance fair. We'll get 10 or 15 different people to come and speak on what are the careers. Or it could be something just specific on alternate careers. It's like, for example, new careers, like how do you want to be, let's say, a media professional or be a video editor. So these are some things maybe you're not being taught in school because some of our curriculum doesn't have that. But one of your students has, one of you becomes, succeeds in an alternate career. You can come back and share that knowledge with somebody, or a group of people in your school.
And how can a school alumni association bring its former students together?
So the very important thing today is one is having the intention or the desire. Yeah, that's the most important thing. First, have the desire and intention to bring people together. Okay, so let's say you form an association or you form a group. And even if that group is 50 people, it's fine. You start small, get your organization together. So you have, for example, you see who are the people who are going to be, the office bearers of this association. So once you have that, how do you communicate? And communication is the biggest, is the biggest challenge. How can you, because once people have so many, things today. Everyone is really busy. Everybody has so many things to do. But one of the very important things for an association to do is communication. So how do you inspire more people to join? And once they join, how do you communicate to other people what activities you are doing? For example, can you use Facebook effectively? Can you use Instagram effectively? How do you use these platforms? Can you use YouTube, like create videos about what you're doing, share it? So these become really important once you start the association. So one, like I said, is, having the intention and the strong desire and passion to give back. Two, the structure and organization. Three is the communication. And four is enrollment. You need to keep getting people to build. So as you become stronger and bigger, more people will want to join. It's like you have to play on the fact that people should feel, if I'm if I'm not in this association, if I'm not in this alumni, I am missing out something. So that's something we do a lot in Don Bosco. We always make people feel, you missed this event, you lost out, and the guys who there had a great time. It's like we had this lovely time with our teachers, or we had this great time playing cricket, but you guys missed out. So we'll post the pictures and make you feel more bad that you missed out on this event.
And how can it support students who are still at school?
Yeah, I think, like I said, the big thing that an association can do is inspire students, guide students, because sometimes your students, like your juniors, when you pass out of school, will be more receptive to getting inspired by you or taking advice from you rather than taking advice from somebody who's much older, right? We always find it easier to listen to people whom we can identify with. So that's a big power that you have to inspire, to guide. I think that's something you can definitely do.
Okay, Ashwin, we have finished from my side. We can put the questions to the boys, inshallah. And before that, sure. I just wanted to introduce you to the two pillars of these students. That is Sabira Miss and Rita Miss, who are taking care of the English skills for these students. Sabira Miss and Rita Miss, are you there?
A very warm good evening, sir. This is Sabira here.
Good evening, Sabira. Nice to meet you.
It's an honor to meet you,
good evening,
sir.
sir. It's Peter here.
Good evening, Peter. Pleasure meeting you.
Sir, I have a question.
Sure.
So you have mentioned about books writing. So, like, in which genre do you write? You have even mentioned about travel, food. So could you just share something about it?
So I think I started writing when I was in school. So that's another thing I credit to my school. So I think most of us start writing for our school magazine. So that's where we started writing. And although I'm not a trained writer, I'm not a literature student. I did commerce, and then after that I did my MBA. But I've been in what we call in the marketing communication space. So essentially that involves, corporate communications. So I've always enjoyed writing in my role. I was also running my own marketing communications public relations agency. So in 2010, I started writing for a lot of publications. So today I contribute to about 10 to 15 different publications. And I write, you could call me a lifestyle writer. So I write on travel. So basically share my experiences on destinations around the world, about culture, of particular destinations, a history of a destination, architecture. So this is under travel. And I also write about food. So again, when we talk about food, there's a lot of history and culture. For example, something as simple as an ambur biryani, which is one of my favorite dishes, this has a history. It's not just something that, there is a lot, why is it made in a particular way? Where did it come from? So when I spoke to some of my own friends who are in Ambur and they put me on to cooks, I learned a lot. And when I shared it, it became a very popular story on NDTV, which is one of the platforms I write for. So I write about that. And I also write about technology. So you will see my reviews on phones, on gadgets. So I'm very passionate about gadgets. So you'll find a lot of my reviews online if you Google. So I contribute to a lot of platforms. Outlet that I have, and it also gives me the opportunity to share my experiences and also share things from South India to an international audience. So, for example, someone will read about the Ambur biryani sitting in London or New York because I am from here and I'm sharing something that's close to my heart with a larger audience. Likewise, I share my experiences from another country. Let's say, I go to the US and I come back and share. So people in India get to know about something of a small town in the US. So it works both ways.
That sounds interesting, sir. That sharing about Ambur biryani and reading about it, that's really great, mashallah. And we have students here who are blooming authors and gadgets. Really, they're much interested about it. So definitely, you'll have questions from our boys. So, boys, if you have any questions, so you can post or you can even come forward and speak. So is there to answer you.
Sir?
Yeah, hi.
What was your ambition in childhood, sir?
My ambition in childhood was to do an MBA. So I think when I was in 11th standard, that's when I learned about MBA. It's not like now when you kids know in the first standard itself about MBA. I think I was in 11th standard. And at that point of time, I was planning to do an MBA. And, luckily I managed to do that. Yeah.
Sir?
Yeah.
You selected which group, sir?
So when you ask a question, also give me your name so I know whom I'm speaking to. So just give me your name and class. Yeah. Tell me what is your name and which standard you're in.
Where's Ahmed?
Okay. And which? Yeah. I did commerce. I did commerce group because like I said, by the 10th, 11th standard, I had already decided that I was going to do an MBA. So I did commerce, and then I did my BA corporate for my undergraduation, and then I did my MBA.
Sir, you know here? Okay. So,
yes, Yunus.
You used to write books or blogs on the internet? Your journey.
So just one request, if when you're not speaking, please mute yourselves if anyone is not speaking. Only the ones who are asking questions, if you can unmute, it will be nice. So to answer your question, no, I haven't published any books yet, but most of my articles are there in both print. So you'll find it in, let's say, magazines or newspapers, and also online. Plus, I have my own blog as well. So you'll find it on my blog, you'll find it online and in print.
Sir,
Yeah.
it's Mohammed Shoaib.
Hi, Mohammed.
From which age you started to write storybooks?
I won't say storybooks. I think I started writing maybe when in the school magazine. Yeah. So we used to write stories and articles in the school magazine. So I think I started writing from maybe 11 or 12. I would say 5th, 6th standard. So that's since then I started writing, and luckily I got a lot of encouragement from both teachers as well as at home. Both from the family as well as the English teachers. It's always good to get that encouragement, saying, "Hey, you can write well, and learn, do this." So that's really good to get that encouragement.
Sir,
Yeah.
can you please share
Sir,
how to utilize in a useful way?
What's your name? Sorry.
Muzammil.
Yeah. Muzammil, what is your question?
Boys, when you ask a question, please tell your name and your grade, so it will be easy for him to deliver it.
Sir, my name is Brasin Rinos from class 11. And sir,
Yeah. Go ahead.
do you write blogs and write stories to let your emotions out, or is it fun that way? Like you wrote it for fun or let your feelings out?
So I won't say emotions. Of course, when it's end of the day, it's telling a story. So today, it's what I call storytelling, right? So we learn to tell stories fairly early in our age, right? So either sometimes if you don't do a homework and the teacher asks you a question, even when you're in first standard or second standard, you might have a story to tell. So we all learn to tell stories fairly early, and that's what we do when we write. So today, if I look at if I look at an article that I write, so for example, if I'm reviewing the iPhone, that's a story. It's you're telling your journey with how you felt while using an iPhone, right? Or if you're trying a particular product, it's the same thing. For example, if I go to a particular destination and experience something, then I come back and I tell my story, right? So if you read another blog of the same experience, like say someone going to, for example, if somebody went to a particular either a destination or a temple or a mosque, they give their experience, right, about that. It will be different when you read my experience from reading another person's experience. So to answer your question, you are sharing your experiences. So sometimes if that experience involves an emotion that you felt, like you felt happiness or you felt sad when you saw somebody in a particular place struggling, then you share that emotion. For example, I visited, a concentration camp in Germany where, people were persecuted during the Second World War. So that time, it's very difficult when you go through that to not feel, emotions, right? So you will share. Or if I went to, let's say, a plantation in the US where they used to have slaves, you would have read about, in the 19th century, how the cotton industry in the US was using a lot of slave labor. So when you see the living conditions that these people had, then you definitely feel emotional, and those emotions always come out when you write.
And
Sir, one more question.
boys, 1 minute. One announcement I want to make. We need to take a video clip of all you guys together. So if you could put your cameras on for a few minutes, I could take a video clip and a photo of the session all together. Yeah, put your cameras on. Okay, you can go with the next question.
Sir, may I ask?
Yes, please introduce yourself, Hanif.
Okay, so my name is Jamal Hanif. I am in 11th right now. And I'm an aspiring author. I've published one book in which I compiled my short stories. So
excellent,
my
congratulations.
question, thank you, sir. So my question for you is, how do I reach out more, and how do I make more people read my book, and this comes more under the I don't know, like how do I reach out more? That's my question.
Okay, Jamal, I'm going to ask you a question. What is the theme of your book, or what is the genre of your book?
It's just a compilation of my short stories.
Okay. So, Jamal, what I would say is the best way to let people know about your work is set up a blog, and this is my advice for any blog. And find your what we call niche, right? So find your what is that unique thing that sets you apart from other people. People who have been very successful writers. When I'm talking about writers, I'm not talking about people who publish novels and stuff. But first, you need to build your online presence. So make sure you have a good blog and keep sharing and build your own network. I would say using social media like Facebook and take them back to your blog. Right? So you have your stories, share it. That's a great way to let a larger audience know about it. Is my advice.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir. Hi, sir.
Hi.
I'm Afridi, sir. From grade 8.
Your name is Afridi?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Afridi was one of my favorite batsmen, so it's good that you share the same name, yeah? Yeah.
Yes, sir. I am also passionate about cricket.
Very good. Very good.
Sir, I love to write story.
Okay.
You can give me some tips.
Simple tips, I would say, Afridi, is the first thing is keep it simple. Okay. Sometimes when we write, we think, and this is not just not my tip for writing, it's also for communicating. Keep communication simple, whether it's written or spoken communication. What's most important is people have to understand you.
Comics, sir. I tried many comics in my rough notes.
Okay, you are also an illustrator. Very good.
Thanks, sir.
Sir, where's Ahmed? I have a question, sir.
Sure.
From 6th to 7th, sir.
Okay. Hi.
Sir, you like which game too much, sir?
I can't hear you. Sorry.
Your favorite game is in which, sir?
My favorite game?
Yes, sir.
Sport, I like cricket and tennis. These are my two favorite sports. Yeah.
Sir, even my game that only, sir.
Okay, excellent. I think, yeah, please.
So you know what's the power of...
I have a doubt.
Sorry, I think don't speak over one person. So, yeah.
Okay, I'll talk. You know how the words work and what are its power. Do you have interest in poetry? Poems and like that?
To be honest, no. I think I'm more into prose than poetry. I do read sometimes, but I can't say I've read a lot of poetry or I've written a lot of poetry. Funnily, I used to write poems when I was in school. In fact, I've also taken part in poetry competitions when I was in high school. But somehow, I think I just got more comfortable writing because I started writing for magazines fairly young. So from then, I think started to do more prose. But I think poetry is definitely more beautiful, more tougher, whichever language you take, whether it's English or Tamil or, any language or, Hindi or Urdu. Poetry is really beautiful. But it's also very tough, I think, if you're able to get it right.
Sir, my name is Abdurrahman from 7th standard.
Yeah. Hi, Abdul.
Sir, what was your advantages and disadvantages when you entered this field?
So, I think advantages and disadvantages, I think the first thing is it's all in your mind. Whatever you think, right? And this is not just for this, it's for anything. You have to, have the power of positive visualization. I just want to spend a few seconds talking about it. If any of you students are familiar with Sachin Tendulkar and his approach, he would always talk about positive visualization. So before going to play each time any innings, he will always imagine he's going to score 100. So it's like if you go to an exam where you have this positive visualization that you're going to do well in that exam, that itself is 50% of the job. Obviously, you have to study for that exam. You just can't not study and say, I'm going to do well. But I think to stay positive is very important in not just in writing or in the other fields that I'm in. I'm also in training. I'm also, I also work with companies on their content strategy. But so that is an advantage. I think first is staying positive, being sure that whatever happens, you're going to put your best effort and you will succeed. And don't think too much of the disadvantages, because we all will always have disadvantages. For me, for instance, a lot of the writers are based in Mumbai and Delhi. So almost everybody who writes on technology in India is based in Delhi or in Mumbai. But it's only a disadvantage if I think of it as a disadvantage. If I start thinking, oh, you know what, I am in Chennai, so then I'm disadvantaged, or I'm not in Delhi, so I'm disadvantaged, then it starts playing on your mind. So always stay positive. So I think whatever disadvantages are there, try not to think about it too much. Always dwell on the positives.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. Arif? Is it Arif? Sorry.
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir, what is the hardest thing you faced when you write this story?
Sir?
Hardest thing, I think sometimes if, let's say, I write about something that happened 1 year back, let's say today, like maybe I went to a particular city 2 or 3 years back, and suddenly some publication says, can you write about your experience? I know you went there 2 years back. So sometimes thinking about that and remembering it as it was fresh in your mind, it's always good to write about something immediately after you experience it. That's when you always get the best results.
Sir, your favorite country is which, sir?
My favorite country would be, other than India, my favorite country would be Japan.
Sir, I have one question.
So can I? Sir, where you from, sir?
Faris can
I was
ask
born
the
in
question.
Bangalore. So,
Faris? Insan Faris?
Sir.
Yes, please.
Hello, sir. I'm Imran Faris from
Yeah, hi Faris. Yeah, hi Faris.
Sir, if you could start all over again, what would you do differently?
If I can start all over again, see, honestly, I would, I don't know, maybe be in politics. Yeah.
Good, sir. Good, sir.
Who is
One question.
Can I raise a question?
Rinos and Hanan have a question. Yes, Hanan can go ahead first.
Okay.
Sir, my name is Juan. I'm studying in grade 11. I have one question. Can you explain something stakeholder management?
So when we say stakeholder management, it means, if I take, like today, if you're working with an IT company, for example, so one of the things you need to do is manage your stakeholders. So I was consulting for a UK-based company for 3 years, and one of my responsibilities was to manage the clients. So clients, or what we call business partners, is a stakeholder. So stakeholder means someone who has a stake in your business. So for example, let's say you're working with, let's say, a popular IT company like TCS or Infosys or CTS. What you have to do is you have to manage these stakeholders. So you might have a company, let's say Ford, which is based manufacturing from US, or let's say Apple, which is based in California. So you're managing that relationship for your company with Apple. You need to manage that relationship. That is what is called stakeholder management, or it's called, the other word we use is, customer or client management. So stakeholder management is just client management. I hope that was clear.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Rinos can ask a question now.
Teacher, can I? Hello? Sir.
One by one, students one by one. So I'll just call out the names. Others, please mute your mics. If you have a question, you can even post the question in the chat box.
Sir, what is your favorite car and bike and phone, sir?
No, I don't think that's so important. for this discussion. I'm sorry, but yeah.
Sir, can I ask a question? Yes, Vinos can ask a question right now.
Sure.
Sir, as you are a traveler, which place is in your bucket list and you haven't gone yet? Like.
So the thing with a true traveler is there'll always be places that you have not gone to. So, for example, there are places in South America that I have not gone to. I would like to visit Antarctica someday if I can. And there's a lot of places in South America and Africa that I still haven't visited. I think for the rest of the world, I would say I have covered a lot of ground. But Africa and South America, surely.
Sir, I can ask you one question, sir.
Sure.
Why you like the most country, Japan, sir?
Because yeah, I think Japan, couple of things which is really nice. There's what we call a lot of... So, I'll come back to Japan. One, there's a lot of respect for people respecting each other. Two, there's a really beautiful sense of harmony. Everything is really organized. So there's a beautiful sense of harmony. Anywhere you go to Japan, it's really peaceful, and even though there are a lot of crowds, people still manage to find that harmony. And like I said, respect for individuals, respect for elders, which is also common to India. Even our culture is supposed to be about respecting older people and elders, though some of us nowadays, we seem to have forgotten that Indian value. So these are the things I like about Japan.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I have a doubt.
I have a question.
What novel do you like?
Sorry?
What novel do you like?
Well, if I don't honestly read as much as I used to before. Now I tend to read more non-fiction or informative books. Not much time for novels, unfortunately. Yeah, but some, yeah.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
There's a request to the students here. Those who want to ask a question can post your names in the chat box and we'll call out the names. Boys, those who want to ask questions, please post your names there. Mute your mics. Muhammad Asif wants to ask a question.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, can you tell about the entrepreneurship skills, how much it is important nowadays?
So entrepreneurship is very, very important. And don't think of entrepreneurship only as something that you need in business. Today, I'm just going to request people to mute so it's easier when you're not speaking. So answering your question on entrepreneurship, companies also looking for people who are very entrepreneurial in mind. What do we mean by entrepreneurial? Means somebody who doesn't wait for other people to tell him or her what to do, right? That's a quality of an entrepreneur. So people are looking for, if you see in companies, they'll say we need a self-starter. So somebody who doesn't wait for things to happen, somebody who makes things happen. So that's why even if you're in business or you're not in business, today people expect you to be entrepreneurial and be a self-starter. I hope I answered your question.
Imdad Faris of class at 12.
Sir, I'm Imdad Faris from class 12.
Yeah,
hi. Sir, who do you look up for inspiration or mentorship?
So obviously, in our life, we have people whom we've met and people who we have not met, right? We look at, so sometimes we look at people. So if you see people whom I have not met, people who have inspired me, include Nelson Mandela, for his whole non-violent way of winning freedom for South Africa, and also how to reconcile with people. He taught us how you should not forget about past enmities and bring people together. And that's how you have the whole concept of Rainbow Nation. I also look up to sporting achievers like Roger Federer, people who have a very strong mind, like, Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic. These are people who display very, very strong mental abilities. And in terms of real thing, there are a lot of people whom I've met, from teachers to my own schoolmates. You can seek inspiration from anybody. Today, you can find inspiration in your own neighborhood. It could be somebody who's just running a tea shop, but how that person runs a tea shop can be inspiring for you. So my suggestion is look for inspiration everywhere. Don't just go looking for inspiration amongst great people.
Sir, topic of class 10. Sir.
Yeah. Hi, topic.
Topic of class 10. Those who want to ask question, please post your name there in the post chat box. Sir.
Good evening, sir.
Hi.
Sir, I'm Taufik. I'm studying 10th standard. Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, hi, topic. Yeah.
Sir, you have been successful today, but do you face any failures in the beginning of your career? If any, how did you overcome, sir?
So we all go through failures. It's part of life. You have to look at failures as opportunities to learn. I think I went through a really tough phase, maybe in around 8th, 9th standard, because, I was struggling with some of the subjects. And then I realized that, I'm more comfortable with subjects like commerce, English. So I was struggling with, let's say, biology, which is a subject I didn't enjoy that much. So that was a challenge. But then, you realize that, okay, you need to pass this and then you can do something you want. And likewise, at every stage, there'll always be challenges. So the important thing is, to keep the faith, believe in yourself. And, and of course, this is something everyone will tell you. But, and you have to find that, I believe you can find that strength inside you to keep that strength.
Thank you, sir.
Abid of class 9.
So, hello, sir. I'm Abid from class 9. So, I have two questions for you. Do you watch Wimbledon? And you told in the beginning that you review a lot of mobile phones. So, can you tell me your channel and what mobile phones are you reviewing?
I didn't get your first question, Abid.
Do you watch Wimbledon?
Yes, definitely. I'm a big Roger Federer fan. I started playing tennis after watching Roger Federer, so he's a big inspiration for me. I definitely watch Wimbledon. Second, in terms of my own channel, like I said, I have my blog and YouTube. It's called Ashwin Powers, so you can find all the details on that.
Okay, sir.
Class 10.
Sir, I am Ataur Rahman, and how we can make our book really very famous when we write some book?
Yeah, I think. I think the first thing when you're writing is make sure you get the right feedback. Get people around you to share their views, especially people whom you respect and whose abilities you trust and far as English language is concerned. So let them help you. Could be a teacher, could be a friend, could be a parent. Just be clear about that. To write about things which are which you can relate to. The most successful authors and writers. Even when we watch movies today, right? If you see, let's say if you have a director who's making a movie about a place or the culture that he's familiar with, he is able to produce better. He can do a better movie rather than somebody from Chennai going and telling a story about something that's happening in Mumbai. So we write about subjects which are close to you. And once you start writing, like I said, have a blog. It's a great way to share your work and get people to comment about it. These are the only suggestions I have.
Okay, Ashwin, we have taken a lot of questions. Boys, 1 second, please.
Some points of class 12.
Yes, teacher. Sir, what 3 books can you recommend on leadership? I have interest on reading books, so I asked you.
I'm sorry, sir, I'm not able to think.
Okay, bye, sir.
Okay,
Ashwin,
Ashwin,
sorry, I'm not able to get. Yeah.
we have taken a lot of questions and we are coming to the end of the session. If you can just have a look at the chat box and see if you could answer some of them.
No, I think I'm going to just ask one of your moderators to share because there are too many questions here, Abdul. So if you don't mind, somebody can.
Okay, so
I'm really sorry
can you
because
just pick up some questions from the chat box and we will do a couple of questions from there.
Sure. We'll do it. So let us call the student for the vote of thanks.
Yeah.
Renos of class 11.
Yes, ma'am. A graceful and warm evening to our most valued guests, teachers, management, and my dear friends. It is my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, Renos, on behalf of Sana Model School and the entire fraternity of the school, first of all, extend my most sincere thanks to the Almighty Allah. On my behalf, I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to Mr. Ashwin Rajagopalan, who spared time from his busy schedule to grace the occasion. I thank you, sir, for gracing your crucial work and sharing with us your opinion and finding this present time. Thank you, sir, for your enlightening and very thought-provoking discussion on helping the community. We students have good takeaways from this session, and that's quite motivating for us. We will surely follow the pointers mentioned about inspiring others. Thank you once again, sir.
MashaAllah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renos. Yes, sir.
Yes, Miss, we can have some couple of questions from the chat box and we will finish the session.
Yes, sir. We have a question. Who is your role model?
I think I've already answered that just some time back. Yeah, I shared that answer.
Who is your favorite teacher?
All my teachers. I don't want to name one teacher because if a lot of my teachers will be watching my thing, but we've had all fantastic teachers. So all I want to say is I've been blessed with great teachers in school and college and also during my MBA. So I don't want to pick one teacher.
Okay, so we'll jot down all the questions from our students and we'll forward it to Mr. Abdul Rahman, sir, and you could definitely give us answers to it.
Sure. And I just want to say if you approach the end of the session that I just want to thank you once again for the opportunity. And some of the questions were really good. And I'm sorry if I was not able to answer certain questions. It's always going to happen in a session like this because we had a lot of participants. And I want to thank you for really great participation in this session. And I hope, I was able to share something meaningful because I believe when we spend time, there should be some takeaways, something that we can implement. I hope I've given you something to think about.
And Ashwin, the invitation was only for 9 to 12 students, but the enthusiasm has gone spread to the whole school. Even the 7th and 8th and 6th students have joined, mashallah.
That's good to see.
Yeah. Okay,
we have quite a variety, I think, right from 7 toppers to alumni. A lot of them have joined to hear from you. Really, thank you very much for your lot of wisdom that you've shared, and I'm sure we've benefited a lot with your presence. Thank you again, Rash. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashwin, and hope to keep connected, inshallah.
Hope to stay connected, inshallah. Yeah.
Bye. Miss?
Yes, sir.
What we'll do with this bunch of questions?
Sure, we'll jot down and
I think you can select the good ones out of them because everything doesn't need to be addressed, right? You can select it and send it to Abdul Rahman.
Yeah.
Very good. And then we'll share it with the group. Thank you.
I think Mr. Girish also came today for this meeting.
Yeah. And who are the new joinees, Miss? Other than...
No, I couldn't identify since I know Mr. Girish Nanda, so I could just tell about him.
Okay.
So I think it's time for everyone to log out.
Yeah.
Alright, boys. So Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, we'll meet tomorrow with another celebrity. Inshallah.
We will keep you posted about tomorrow.
You don't have to reply to. You don't have to reply to the salam, boys. So behave well. Mashallah, very good.
Boys, this is just the start. Tomorrow is going to be the main occasion. You know that you are waiting for him, right? Mr. Anand Ramachandran. He is coming tomorrow. Mr. Anand Ramachandran, who is the game developer, software game developer. Okay, he is going to join us, and I will post you all the details in the group. And be ready for tomorrow, inshallah. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.